So the title of our presentation is Wise Choices, the Interaction of the Individual and Institutional Wisdom. And actually, Michael yesterday kind of stole my thunder briefly by bringing up Kat Sunstein and Dick Thaler's book, Nudge, because the work that we do really does focus on what we talked about yesterday was a lot about wisdom being intrinsic to an individual, wisdom being a possession of an individual or an individual's life experiences. And although that is certainly quite true, I think that the behavioral scientists that we work with would like to think that there's a lot of research showing that wise choices, wise decisions, are really the result of the interaction between an individual's own wisdom, their own experiences and possessions, and the environmental context in which that person is making their choices, making their decisions, and that the context itself can inhibit and promote wise behaviors depending upon how it's structured. So we are currently doing research in several different areas on how making the choice set, the choice architecture, more beneficial to people's decision making can have an influence on decisions. So just briefly, I don't want you to get very expert advice on the Medicare prescription drug insurance program, but essentially it was a very large government program instituted in the spring of 2006. It affected potentially as many 45 million seniors. Initially, the first year, 24 million enrolled. There was a significant dollar amount of subsidies the government provided. And instead of providing the subsidy to individuals directly, the concept behind the Medicare prescription drug insurance program was to have individual companies provide insurance, offer insurance plans to people of different types. People would select those choices, and the government would then subsidize those plans for the people they had enrolled. We decided that we'd use information from the Medicare website. We'd try to simplify it and maybe highlight some aspects of it, but basically give people information that already existed, that the government was providing, that was not something we were saying, okay, we think this is important. We were just saying, this already exists, let's see how people respond to it. But the key intervention was that the control group received a letter telling them, you can go to the Medicare website, thanks for helping with our survey, you can get information about your prices and your costs by going to the website. But the intervention group received a letter which, in addition to including the printout of all the costs available to that person from the Medicare website, highlighted for them in a little box the cost of their plan, the cost of the cheapest plan, and how much those costs differed. So we highlighted for them how much they could save, and we also highlighted the low-cost plan. But otherwise, we didn't. I mean, that's a significant intervention in some ways, but in other ways, it's a fairly limited intervention without a lot of effort on our part. So what we found in the intervention is that this fairly limited intervention of pre-existing information, although perhaps not easily accessible information for the average senior citizen, stimulated and increased the number of people who chose to switch plans, a significant increase. The overall baseline rate across the country was on the order of 10% or so. We had slightly higher switching in our baseline group, but our baseline group had some differences as well on other demographic issues. We're not so concerned about that. A large number of people in the intervention group switched the lowest cost plan, but I think also important is most of them didn't. The plan that we highlighted was the lowest cost plan, but only 30% of them actually picked it. The other ones who switched made other decisions. So they weren't necessarily just taking what we were suggesting in that direct way. So the question is, are these wise choices? This is a difficult thing for people. It's a difficult thing for us to actually come out and say, is this a wise choice or not? We try not to always say that, but people made different decisions. We came back a year later and gave them anonymously. We didn't give them the names, we just gave them the details of their plans, the ones that they had chosen the first year, the ones they had chosen the second year. This is only for the people who made a switch. Obviously, people who were in the same plan couldn't do this. And what you find is a statistically significant increase in the people in the intervention group who would pick the same plan again, despite the fact of not knowing in an obvious way that it is the same plan. And then one final point about how wise these are that I find really interesting is, I'm not sure whether to call it deeper understanding, but the people in the group that we treated with the intervention, 7% of them, a small amount, but 7% of them actually chose plans that increased the premiums they're paying, but decreased the amount of money they were paying overall for the year, which is a highly intricate decision to make, I would think, and a very small fraction of people in the comparison group actually did that. And I think that that's an interesting way of looking at how this intervention, which wasn't trying to do that in a particular way, allowed people to make wise and beneficial financial decisions.